through a number of fixtures with a lot of players missing. So I don't think that.
Yeah.
Go on, Jay.
Well, this is the thing. This is the actual, complete piss take of the whole situation. I can see a lot of people, switching off to football. With the number of postponements that we've had, this is a global business where obviously you're reliant on games being streamed across the world to millions, billions of viewers, and the amount of money that people have spent, that you've seen on Twitter yourself. Someone flew over from New York for the game only for it to be postponed, and people 200, 300, 400, 500 quid down on that. But it will get to the point where people will just sack it off, and it's I've seen comments even now that the Premier League are seemingly so corrupt that we're starting to think, why didn't the European Super League go ahead? Let's just fuck off the Premier League and these.
I think that's a great point,
wankers.
Jamie, that you made about that these people are travelling from all over the place as well. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to even look forward to a game now because you don't even know if it's going to go ahead. And on top of that, I mean, out of 10, how confident would you be travelling to a game like the day of the game? I mean, you're checking your phone, right, before you leave the door.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Also, it's just not the knock-on effect about people travelling to the games, and us lot. Our weekends are we're looking forward to that for the whole weekend. It's like Sunday, let's do them, let's get at them. It's the people that are running pubs as well, businesses that are reliant upon having football on screens on a Sunday afternoon, on a Saturday afternoon, selling drinks, selling food. It's the whole economic impact of it. It's not just for fans in the stadium. It is the wider, and that's global as well, where fans turning up in bars in New York at 5 a.m. or whatever, or Malaysia, and it's the knock-on effect is significant. It really is significant.
Simon, so a lot of good points made there, and I think Jamie was the one that's mentioned about the 50 or 60 players that clubs have on their books across a number of squads. Now, I personally think that Arsenal missed a massive trick, really, because you've got a load of homegrown talent, right? And if you whisper it quietly, but they brought a few players through recently, Saka, Smith Rowe, so they haven't not got talent at their disposal, which means that they've probably got more players on their books actually what better game for them to come in and make a name for themselves and make themselves instant heroes for their fan base than to go out there in a North London derby, give 100%, even if they got turned over, but someone, I don't know, took out Kane, for example, or, scored a goal, whatever. There's massive chance to make themselves instant heroes for that fan base. And they've missed that opportunity.
Steve, what's going to happen, right? If we reschedule this game, let's say we play it in a month or 2 months' time, and then let's say Son and Kane aren't available, are we going to turn around and say, okay, we're not ready to play it either? Well, it goes on and it goes on.
Well, exactly, and it then becomes about the injuries, doesn't it? The suspected injuries and stuff, because you can a lot of players play with niggles. They play a lot of the season with niggles and stuff like that. And a club will just say, fuck it. We don't want you to play with those niggles now. If you don't play because you've got a slight tweak, you don't play. That's 6 players maybe that are unavailable. We've got 2 COVID cases. That's it. That's fine. We can postpone. We get the game postponed. And then we'll delay that game until we feel that we're at full strength. So
also it's convenient for us.
Also, bear in mind as well that we're in the middle of the January transfer window as well. They've sent 3 players out on loan.
Yeah.
Which, reading between the lines, you'd expect 3 players to come in. Now, we could be playing them in a month's time, and they've got 3 or 4 new players in, which could potentially put us at a significant disadvantage. Plus, as Lee said, if we've got injuries as well, if Kane can't play, Son can't play, the whole thing's a fucking farce. I mean, why don't we just sack it all off and do something else with our time?
Well, watch darts, no doubt.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's start a darts podcast.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. So, I mean, have you? There's the main thing, I think, right? So we spoke about the Arsenal own goal, and as Spurs fans, we've now got the opportunity to, forever, take the piss out of Arsenal fans and tell them that their club were too scared to face us, and they chickened out of a match. But we look like we're as a club we can do that, but then it looks like the fans are prepared to sort of score a massive own goal with this petition. I mean, what are your Simon? I'll come to you because you've a bit, but you haven't spoken for a while. Have you heard about the petition? What are your thoughts?
No, go on, tell me.
So there's a petition to investigate, I think, the Premier League. Is that right, Jamie? Because I think you know about it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I've just got it up on my phone now, and someone called Kim started it, and she says, I want a full investigation into the decision on London derby postponement shown to football fans of all teams, as I believe this was not due to COVID. I want this is the best bit of it. I want proof of Arsenal players COVID positive. The team had access to players from a large squad, under 21s, under 18s to play the game. These postponements need to stop. The staff members and others now not being paid is a long-lasting effect in these difficult times. There should be full disclosure in all games postponed due to COVID, including previous and future games. So Kim wants all the information, and there 2,362 people have signed it.
Okay, so as actually I was going to mention it before, but or something else, and this is kind of the issue. I think you said was that the Premier League is made up of 20 shareholders, each one of them being one of the Premier League clubs. There isn't the same level, I don't think, of governance and around it in the same way that the FA does, for example. So who has got the authority to say to the Premier League board, I want this investigated? Only the other 19 clubs. Now, sure as shit, the execs at Tottenham will be fucking livid and will be thinking about any way they can possibly, because they've not just about losing the game, they've lost millions of pounds in aborted sales and hospitality, right? So this has a massive financial impact on the club. I do appreciate what you're saying about the surrounding area, because of course all of them would have been negatively affected as well. They would have prepped for the day, but the club being, I would say, the biggest disadvantaged party in this at the moment, let's just go with that, will be no doubt fucking furious. And if they were right in doing so, they should be lobbying the other, however many they can do out the other 20 to go to the Premier League and say, right, okay, we need to have an investigation into this, or perhaps you'll be hearing from our lawyers, because this is not acceptable. We can't continue to have behind closed doors decisions made that affect fixtures and then the financial stability of clubs of match day revenue.
I've got more sympathy on the local. I've got more sympathy for the local business.
Yeah,
I do. I do, but my point is the local businesses don't have the weight to be able to go and do that. But it's down to the club to do it, to basically say how many of the other 19 can they canvass to basically take that petition and say, right, we demand that there's an open table investigation of this, because one COVID case and a bunch of injuries and transfers is not a reason, according to the guidance, as to why you should have postponed this match.
With the Premier League, obviously there's 20 teams, and isn't we've seen this before with various voting. Doesn't it only take one, like several vetoes, doesn't it, to I'm not sure how measure through? But for instance, if you've got the likes of Arsenal won't vote for that,
no,
Burnley won't vote for that, Leicester won't vote, but it only takes 2 or 3 teams to just.
Yeah, but the issue here is not about
lower everything.
Okay, but had there been, so the issue here isn't about there are rules and guidance for requesting postponements that exists. They've all agreed to that. The 4 or 5 criteria are quite openly laid out on the Premier League's website. The conversation is that the criteria doesn't sound like or feel like the criteria are correctly applied in this case, and therefore a wrong decision has been reached. Nobody is disputing the fact that if you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 COVID cases, you should be postponing matches. I don't think anyone would argue to that if that was genuinely the case. But actually, when you look through the list of reasons why there were players out from Arsenal, there's only one due to COVID, and we had the same. The rest of it is because they were on AFCON, loaned out, disqualified, whatever else it might well be. So it would need the club to do it, but there isn't necessarily the mechanisms in place with the Premier League to then say, okay, well, I'm going to go to the higher governance authority to request an investigation and appeal this decision. This doesn't exist.
Well, that's a good point, because the whole thing obviously has to operate on trust. I mean, obviously society does operate on trust. I mean, who's to say that there's not teams there in the background that are struggling in relegation zones, that you're not going to have a body out there that sits above the Premier League going out and actually doing their own COVID tests. You could have the medical team at Burnley, for example, they don't bother calling the players in. Let's just get a load of lemon juice or some citric acid and chuck it in the COVID, in the lateral flow tests, and suddenly we've got a load of positive tests. There's no way of policing absolutely everything.
Exactly, and Liverpool did it, didn't they? I mean, we're criticising Arsenal rightly because it affected us, but Liverpool did it where they had no players available because apparently they were positive, and they called off a game, and then about 2 days later they played the next game they wanted to play because apparently all those results were rechecked, or the players that were positive were rechecked. They were a load of false positives, and that's not that is dodgy beyond comprehension. I think the point, Simon, is what I'm going to let you come back in, but my point really is like what you both said is around Premier League's clubs taking action to pursue this, which is the right, would be the right approach to do that. I think from my perspective, what I'm saying is from our perspective as fans, from fans being able to banter with each other and mock each other, we can mock the Arsenal fans because they refuse to play us, but then they can mock us back because we've started a petition about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
but this is kind of a bit more than okay. So today it's today we're debating Arsenal North London derby, and we sort of feel like we're getting to the point where what was created for a good reason to get through what we hope would be the first, an open season of the Premier League is now being used for clandestine or some nefarious purposes to benefit other, to benefit certain teams or otherwise. So it either tells you that COVID isn't a big deal for these clubs anymore, and now they're just using the rules to their own means, or that actually there is a kind of, we've uncovered a bit of a problem here with the way that the governance works around decision making, which we always knew existed in the Premier League to a degree, and actually that's where perhaps other regulatory bodies should be getting involved and arbitrating on behalf of clubs where a decision has been made in their view unfairly.
Also, the other thing is that with patient confidentiality, they don't have to tell anyone who's got COVID or not. So they might say we've got 4 or 5 cases, but what's the proof? Because the patient confidentiality means that they don't have to disclose who had it. And the other thing, going back to I suppose the original point here is about the petition, is that I think I don't want to be rude to the person who started it, but it's a little bit Liverpool, if you ask me. This a bit of victim mentality. I don't think it really behooves us to do anything like this. I think we it's not very dignified. We're just like, okay, it's wrong. We all know it. They've forced the rule, but starting petitions, I think, is just it's going to invite criticism, as Steve said, from other fans, but it's not going to get us anywhere either.
Ridicule
really.
As well as criticism.
Yeah, we're not. Okay. We just don't need to play the victims in this situation, I don't think.
Lee, you mentioned about patient confidentiality. I think the only way that I can see myself getting over games being postponed last minute is that if it genuinely is COVID, then what they need to do is they need to get those players out that have got COVID chain them up, put them in the stocks, and fans that have paid money to go to the game